What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building the UCS Acclamator. This week I should be finishing up the inner frame on that underside and starting to plate off the bottom. This is big because I feel like I've been working on the bottom for so long without really seeing like what the shape is going to look like, just because, you know, building the interior pieces, those don't often reflect what the shape of the exterior is going to be. But now I can finally start to put that exterior shell together and really see like what the underside of the Acclamator is going to look like. I will also be working on the stand for the Acclamator a little bit. The stand is going to be built in to the ship, so it will never come off. So I'm going to be starting work on that now because I don't want to go back in after it's been plated off and then put it in. I do also have a haul with a ton of pieces. Feels like it's been forever since I've gotten a Bricklink package, so glad to finally have one of those. All that being said, it's time to get to work. Another week of building the UCS Acclamator is upon us. So this may look pretty similar to the end of last week, and that's because I did a lot of like internal reworking and kind of small behind the scenes changes. I picked this up to show my brother this last week, and this like whole middle part busted out and the Acclamator fell down and a bunch of stuff broke and smashed, and made me realize I'm not very happy with how this interior was built, like what I did with like the bricks and just how I built that frame. So I actually reconstructed it last night on a live stream and made it much sturdier, much bigger. And then I also worked on this middle area. You can see I've got like a little pillar in here, basically preparing this whole section to be plated off and then to have the plates coming down the sides and then the front there. I'm much happier with this new design. It's much bigger and much sturdier. I did also get some work on the back of the Acclamator. You can see right here I've got this little design thing on the side. I'm not really sure what's going to happen here on the side because it's completely flat on the actual ship, and so I don't want to have too much going on, and I think that might be what's happening right here, just too much going on. So I might have to adjust that later, figure out, you know, what's going to go there. I'm hoping if I can get some of those big, like, you know, I think they're like 6x12 plates where it's like the entire inside is tile and just the outside is studs. I think that would look really nice right there. I did also get a bunch of work done behind all of these engines. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but like last week I showed you there were gaps back in here between like the engines and like the middle piece here and the other small, between the engines and the middle tail air and this tail thing, and then, you know, over here I filled all those in. You can't really see super well, but trust me, it looks really good. The back is really shaping up. I'm in the final stages now. I think what I'm going to do next is start plating off the top, as well as getting these plates to go down the side, and then just figuring out basically, you know, what it's going to look like once it's plated off. All in all, I think it's going to be a pretty good week. I kind of got through that roadblock of this middle section. I was kind of unmotivated to work on it just because I wasn't super happy with it, but I didn't know what needed to change, and there were a bunch of small things to do. But that's all behind me, and so now it's time to get on with the progress. Now I can finally show you guys what I am kind of planning for this underside. So I plated off this whole bottom. It's going to be nothing fancy. This is probably not going to be what the permanent pattern is. This is all I have right now is 4x8. I would like to get some like 6x10 or 6x12. So once I order those in, I'll swap it all out. But this is just what I wanted to look like, very simple. And then over here on the side is a little bit more complicated, but nothing too crazy. So I'm just going to have, you know, a panel coming down at an angle on either side like this. And I'm using the same technique that I did on this upper side with these panels with the ball joint right here. So I'm just going to have two ball joints here, this plate hooking onto those, and then sitting at an angle like this. I'm hoping that, you know, these ball joints are pretty stiff, they're pretty hard to move, so I'm betting on those keeping the panels in place. Also, the panels aren't super heavy because you have to remember once this is flipped over, gravity's going to be pulling this down. But I don't think it'll be enough of a pull to, like, you know, separate to cause a gap right up here at the top. Over here on the side, I'm just working on filling in this gap right here because these panels come down like this, but there's still this big old gap between the panel hitting this bottom part and then, you know, this engine area. So I'm just going to fill it in with brick. Nothing too special there. I'm running out of inverted slopes. You can see I had to use a painted black one and an old discolored one, but those will be swapped out. Down over here I have been doing some experimenting, trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing in this middle section. So I think I'm just going to have a strip of plate running down, kind of hooking on like this. And the reason I have this black plate running down first is because originally I had put down the plate directly on top of these Technic pieces and it just looked kind of flat. I felt like, you know, this area and this area was going to rise up above this area, and there would be kind of like a little indentation right here, and I didn't want that to happen. So I decided to rise up this kind of top layer of plate by one plate. I may have to rise it up more in the future, we'll see. I'll probably know better once I get these side panels in and see like where they plane in with this right here, and then where they plane in right here. I should be getting those pieces in this week though. I did also swap out the dark bluish gray Technic pieces for these black ones. I just felt like, you know, an all black stand would just look more professional and look cooler than dark bluish gray. It's time for a little haul. I guess not little haul, this is a fairly sizable Bricklink package. This is actually the very same package that I was talking about last week that got sent to the wrong person. So it finally made its way to me, and I'm very happy because you can see I've got a lot of light bluish gray parts for the Acclamator, starting out with these 6x8 plates. These are going to be really good for working on that underside as they cover a large surface area. Got some 4x8s, honestly not sure why I even ordered these. I've got a ton already. And then I've got some larger wedge plates. These are going to help create that angled shape underneath the Acclamator. I got some for the right side as well as a couple for the left. That's pretty much it for that first bag. Over here in the second bag is kind of like loose pieces, odds and ends. You got some random 2x brick, 2x8, 2x10, wedge slopes, as well as, you know, some 1x. This bag's a pretty mixed lot, but this is all just like random parts that needed replenishment after working on the Acclamator. And then, of course, can't get a Bricklink haul right now without getting some kind of trans clear parts in it. This is, I think, around 200 trans clear studs. Nowhere near what I need, but every time I make a Bricklink order, I always check just to see if they have any, and I pick them up. And then in this one, I've got some 1x6 and some green pieces. These were originally going to be used for Kato and Nemoidia, if you guys remember. Back before I was going to do olive green, I was actually planning on doing just regular green. That whole thing fell through, so now I've got a bunch of those for different mocks. This one kind of looks like a Christmas haul here with the green, red, and white, but these small red turntables are actually for the Acclamator. This is going to help me achieve some of the angled looks I want on the underside. And then I've got some white parts for a Wolfpack custom gunship, the M5 variant. What you're seeing here is me pulling off all of the plate on the bottom. Like I said earlier, that plate wasn't permanent. It was just me needing to get the top covered so I could see what I was working with and show you guys some progress. And now that I got that 6x plate in, I want to put that in just because it covers a wider surface area, so I won't have as many weak points. So I'm going to pull what I want off and then put the 6x plate in. That may be moved as well, considering I'm thinking about moving those tall poles that are going to consist of the stand. I think they might need to be scooted back further just to be able to support the weight. A lot of like working on a mock like this, especially a vehicle, I feel like, is you build something the first time to see what it looks like and just to see if it'll work, and then you rebuild it the same way the second time using different parts just to like make it stronger, make it look better, because obviously the bigger the plates I use, the less I'll have to use, so the better that underside will look. Here's one last look at the Acclamator for this week. Now that I got a lot of that plate in, I was able to plate off a lot of this and kind of, you know, start working on the next phase. So I got this panel in, kind of set this panel up just to show you guys like what this whole section would look like, all nice and plated off. And then I started running plate along this outer underside right here. So this is going to be flat right here, and then these large panels are going to come down at an angle and then plane into these, kind of like that, and then they're going to meet up here somehow. Still not sure how this section is going to work out, but this will all be next week. This will be but this will all be figured out in the next update. I'm pretty happy with how things are shaping up, and now that I have like the frame covered, it looks much cleaner and less messy, and I'm really liking how this backside looks. That there are still some places you can see some gaps that I need to clean up. All in all, I think it's coming together. All that being said, that wraps up this week. Time to hit the outro. I hope you guys enjoyed this week of building the UCS Acclamator. I feel like now I'm really starting to see the outer shell come together, and especially after next week, you're going to get a really good idea of what it's going to look like under there. That wraps up this video. If you like this video, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. But until next time, happy building.